When it comes to growing carrots, a lot of people shy away from them because they consider them a little bit tricky to grow. But if you start off the right way, they're not as tricky as you might think. You just need to do some preparation to ensure that you get good quality carrots. And we're going to do some today. At the minute it's October, so what we want to do is get us carrots to germinate over the next few weeks so that they can grow to 1 or 2 inches high, and then we can leave them in this greenhouse over winter, and they'll just go dormant for a while. They'll be perfectly fine, but come next year they'll start growing again and we'll get an early harvest of carrots that way. But first, it's all about the preparation. I'm going to be using this container because it's a really good size and it's also got a nice bit of depth. But when you first start off doing carrots, you need to think about the consistency of the medium that you're growing them in. You don't want it lumpy, you don't want any big stones or anything like that in there. You just need to make sure that you're using a nice fine consistency of compost. Easiest way to achieve that is to sift it with one of these. If you haven't got one of those, but you've got some of those blue baskets that you get from markets, you can use one of those to do the same job. And secondly, if you're going to do them in containers like we are, you need to make sure it's got plenty of holes in it because they need well drained soil as well. And also the quality of the soil is important, and it's probably not what you might think. Carrots don't like soil that's too rich. They don't like to be over fertilised because that will make them bend and fork. They actually prefer quite a poor quality soil. So you can sift some garden soil and mix it with some compost, or just use all compost. But don't add any nutrients to that compost, else you'll cause yourself problems later on. And I've got this container that has got some compost in it that's already been used. So it's not overloaded with nutrients. There is some in there, but not a large amount. So I'm just going to take it out of this, and then I'm going to sift all the large pieces out. That's going to guarantee that my carrots grow straight. And you can see you get a really nice loose consistency, which is perfect. So they'll just go into a bucket until we need to use them. So I'll finish sifting this and then I'll come back to you. I have kept about 2 inches of that rough stuff in the bottom of this container because the carrots probably won't get that long. But that bit of rough along the bottom is again going to help with drainage, which is really important. We've got that sifted compost that we've just prepared. And what I'll do is I'll just pop that back in there. And you can see that's really fine, loose, good quality compost. And then we'll just spread it out. I've also got this container that's been outside that's already had something growing in it as well. So to save on money, complete filling this container, we'll also use this. But again, we'll sift it because we've got some good quality compost in there. And now we're going to dilute those nutrients by using some spent compost from garden. And then we'll add that to this trough as well. So now we've got that exact consistency of compost that we want. It's lump free, it drains really well, and it's been diluted with a bit of less rich soil as well, which creates that perfect environment for carrots. Now we just need to top it off. This container's 8 inches deep, So if we fill it to the top, we're hoping to get carrots somewhere in the region of 6 to 7 inches long. So we'll just top this off now. And it's again, we're topping it off with some good quality compost. And then we're just going to bang it down. That's just going to settle that compost down. Then comes the tricky bit. You've got to sow these seeds quite thinly. If you're not very good at sowing carrot seeds thinly, which I'm quite sure a lot of people aren't, because it is quite difficult, then don't worry, because as they grow, you can thin them out and leave a space in between each carrot that you want to keep. Ideally, 1 inch to 1.5 inches. I'll bring camera in and then you can see how I sow the seeds. Now when you sow carrots, you have to sow them direct. You can't sow them into containers and then move them into something like this, because that will cause that carrot root to twist straight away. So what we want to do is make a drill, as they call it. And that's basically a trench, a straight one, along the entire length of this container. Now you can do it by just dragging your fingers down, or you can use something like this, like a stick, and just make an indentation in that compost. Either way works perfectly fine. And you just want to make it about 0.5 centimetre deep, and we'll do 2 rows in this container, slightly keeping away from edges to allow for growth. And you don't have to be perfect, just so that you know your carrots are all going in one area. So I'm using an early variety because we want to sow the seeds now and hopefully be getting harvest by February or early March next year. And those are carrot seeds, you can see they're very tiny, which makes them that more difficult to evenly space. But all you can do is your best. So basically rubbing between your fingers. And don't rush this bit. Really take your time. It's going to benefit you later on. You'll have less that you need to thin out. So just gradually go down that row, rubbing seeds between finger and thumb. You'll see them drop. They're quite light coloured, so that shouldn't cause you any problem. And try and get an even line where possible. Fill in any little gaps that you might see. So there's just a couple of seeds per centimetre. And then the same with that second row. There's nobody on this earth that can sow carrot seeds 100% correctly. So if you get a few too many in there, don't worry and start trying to pick them out. Just leave them. Once they've germinated, you can thin them out at that stage. And at that, we're done. If you've got seeds left, don't be tempted to add them in, because you'll just be overseeding. You'll be wasting seeds and it's just going to cause you another problem later on in the year. We'll save those for another day. So basically, that's the trickiest part of this job. Now we just need to cover them over. And you can just pop the soil back over the top with your fingers, which is the way most people do it. I like to use this colander and give them a really light covering, because I can cover them like this, steadily. I'll see those seeds completely disappear. But because it's such a fine covering, it's still going to leave that trench. And the reason I do that is when it comes to watering, I know I'm definitely watering the seeds that I've planted. Rather than watering the entire thing and maybe getting it too sodden, I can just concentrate on that area, knowing that them seeds are getting that moisture that they need. Because if carrot seeds keep drying out while you're trying to get them to germinate, germination will fail. And then it's just a case of watering them in. And we're doing it nice and steady so as not to blast any seeds around. that might be just below surface of that compost. The only other thing I would do with this is I would keep it out of direct sunlight until they've germinated, because you don't want this keep drying out. But I would also cover them if you've got something to cover them with, just in case you get a couple of nosy rodents that come in. You don't want them digging that up after all your efforts. So basically all you need to do now is wait for these seeds to germinate and then decide whether or not you need to thin them out. And the big advantage of growing them in containers is that we're raising them off the ground, which is away from that carrot root fly, because they only fly at a certain height. So the height of this bench would be too high for them to get to these carrots once they've germinated and cause any problems. We'll do a continuation of sowings on these carrots over the next few weeks. So whether we harvest baby carrots or wait for them to be fully grown carrots, that's entirely up to us, but at least we'll have something to go at. And we have still got some under this bench and in a raised bed outside. If you've got some sand kicking around in your garden somewhere, you can also mix sand in with this compost, because that is another perfect medium for growing carrots. But now we've got this all set up how we want it, it's all been watered, we don't want it to dry out until these seeds have germinated. And the cheapest way of sorting that problem out is just by using cling film and covering the top of your container. So by doing this, you're turning this container into a propagator, and that's going to hold moisture in there for you until these seeds have germinated. And we'll check the progress on these seeds over the next few weeks. And if you would like to see how these go, plus all the other things in this container greenhouse through autumn and winter, then please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and we'll see you on the next update. You all take care.